Hey everyone, welcome to the Bold and Beautiful 24. I'm Alessio, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love bold and beautiful, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. The Bold and the Beautiful has always thrived on twists that cut to the core of family, love, betrayal, and redemption, but nothing could prepare fans for the shock of Liam Spencer standing face to face with Luna Nozawa after believing for months that she was gone, only to learn she was alive all along. This is not just another soap plot twist, it is an earthquake that ripples through every single relationship connected to them, reshaping dynamics, stirring buried emotions, and shattering illusions of peace that characters had worked so hard to construct. When Liam finally learns the truth and comes face to face with Luna, the entire scene shifts into an emotional showdown that leaves viewers breathless. Liam, once the voice of compassion and loyalty, can barely contain the fury and heartbreak surging inside him, and instead of embracing Luna with joy or relief, instead of saying the words she likely longed to hear, "I'm glad you're alive" or "I never stop thinking about you," he delivers 7 words that slice through the air like a blade, words so sharp that Luna reels back, stunned, unable to comprehend the magnitude of pain packed into such a short sentence. For months, Liam has grieved her, mourned her, carried guilt on his shoulders, questioning his choices and actions that led to what he thought was her tragic end, while also navigating the chaos of his family, his children, his entanglement with Hope, and his complicated relationship with Steffi. To suddenly find out that Luna was not dead, not gone, but instead hidden away, breathing, living, while he agonized and suffered, that revelation unleashes a torrent of emotions that he cannot suppress. The moment he looks into her eyes, it all comes out, the rage that she allowed him and everyone else to live in agony, the betrayal of trust, the confusion over why she did it, and the heartbreak of knowing that the grief he carried wasn't necessary. And so, instead of joy, his lips tremble as he utters those 7 excruciating words that will echo across the Spencer, Forrester, and Finnegan families: "How could you let me suffer?" Those words hit Luna harder than any slap, harder than any accusation, because in them is contained the full weight of Liam's love, his anguish, and his disillusionment. They are not just words, they are the collapse of everything Luna may have hoped for in a reunion. She thought perhaps she could return and explain, that maybe she could justify the deception, that Liam would understand, even forgive. But in his voice, in the tremble of his jawline, in the anger flooding his gaze, she realizes that this is not a man ready to forgive, this is a man broken by her choices. And Liam's devastation doesn't end with those words, his entire body language shows a man torn between wanting to hold her and wanting to push her away. His fists clench, his chest rises and falls with shallow breaths, his eyes dart across her face searching for the woman he once cared for, the woman he thought he had lost forever, and all he can feel is betrayal. Viewers know that Liam is not just mourning the time he lost, he is mourning the innocence of their connection, the purity of what he believed they shared, now stained by secrecy and manipulation. Luna tries to explain herself, whether it was Lee who forced her into hiding, or Sheila, or some secret so dark it could destroy multiple lives, but Liam is in no place to hear it. His ears are ringing with those 7 words he already spoke, the truth of his pain louder than any excuse she can offer. And this confrontation doesn't exist in a vacuum. Once the truth spreads, the fallout will touch everyone. Bill Spencer will erupt in fury at another deception involving his son's heart, Ridge Forrester will use it as leverage to paint Luna as dangerous and unstable, Steffi will see this as proof that Luna can't be trusted around her family, and even Finn will be forced to re-evaluate his stance as a doctor, husband, and son. But it is Liam's words, the 7 words he uttered in the rawest, most vulnerable moment of his life, that will haunt Luna. No matter what justification she offers, no matter how many apologies she pours out, no matter how deeply she insists that she never meant to hurt him, those words echo like a sentence handed down in a courtroom. And for viewers, this is the essence of the bold and the beautiful, that one small set of words can ignite a firestorm, that 7 syllables can reshape destinies, that a single scene between 2 people can ripple across every storyline, binding past and future in ways no one can predict. Liam's heartbreak is not just about Luna's survival being kept from him, it is about what that secret stole from his heart. In the end, the 7 words, "How could you let me suffer?" will become the heartbeat of this arc, a line that fans will remember for years, debated in living rooms, dissected online, and replayed in flashbacks as the saga of Liam and Luna moves forward into uncharted territory. The moment Liam whispers those 7 devastating words to Luna, "How could you let me suffer?" The entire atmosphere between them thickens with a suffocating tension, the kind that pulls every ounce of oxygen out of the room and leaves only raw emotion behind. For Luna, who had imagined their reunion in countless ways, none of those fantasies prepared her for this. She expected tears, maybe even anger, but also relief, the embrace of someone who had missed her desperately. Instead, she is confronted by the harshest truth of all: Liam's pain outweighs his joy. His words are not simply about grief, they are an indictment, a verdict, a sentence that casts her not as a victim of circumstance but as the architect of his suffering. It is the cruelest twist of fate because, in her mind, she may have believed she was protecting him, sparing him, or maybe forced into silence by forces beyond her control, but none of that matters in this moment. What matters is the simple, devastating truth: Liam was left to grieve her when she was alive, and nothing can undo that. As Liam speaks, his voice trembles with suppressed rage, but the deeper one listens, the clearer it becomes that beneath the fury lies heartbreak. His eyes glisten, not with joy at seeing her again, but with tears of betrayal. He paces, his hands raking through his hair, the weight of months of torment pressing against his chest, and Luna watches helplessly as the man she once believed would be her anchor spirals into a storm she cannot calm. Every step he takes, every glance he throws her way, is like a dagger twisting deeper into her guilt. She wants to reach out, to touch his arm, to assure him that her absence was never about punishing him, but her own hesitation betrays her. She doesn't move because she knows, deep down, that his reaction is justified. This confrontation becomes the beating heart of the entire storyline because it shifts both characters onto a new, irreversible path. Liam's grief has defined him for months: his sleepless nights, his distracted parenting, his fraught interactions with Hope and Steffi, all fueled by the ghost of Luna. Now that ghost stands before him in the flesh, alive, breathing, looking at him with pleading eyes. Yet instead of closure, Liam feels robbed, cheated, as though someone stole not only time from him but also pieces of his soul. His pain reverberates in every word, and Luna's silence only amplifies it. When she finally tries to speak, her voice cracks, her excuses falter, and her explanations crumble beneath the weight of his stare. She cannot undo what was done. She cannot erase the nights he cried himself to sleep, the moments he stared at her picture, the times he whispered her name in anguish, believing she would never hear it again. The irony is brutal. Luna thought her survival, once revealed, would heal wounds, but it does the opposite. It rips them open wider, exposing nerves raw and bleeding. And beyond the personal devastation, the ripple effect is immediate. Word of Luna's return spreads like wildfire through Los Angeles, shaking the Spencer, Forrester, and Finnegan families to their core. Bill Spencer, who once thought he had lost yet another person to tragedy, reacts with explosive fury when he learns his son's suffering was prolonged unnecessarily. Brooke Logan, ever protective of Liam, voices her disgust at Luna's deception, while Ridge Forrester seizes the moment to paint her as dangerous, untrustworthy, and toxic tea. Oh, everyone around her. Steffi, still reeling from the chaos Luna has already brought into her orbit, uses this revelation as fuel to ensure Luna never has a place near the family again. And Finn, trapped between his medical ethics, his complicated family history, and his wife's resentment of Luna, finds himself torn in ways that threaten the foundation of his marriage. Yet, at the center of all this chaos, the 7 words remain the focal point. "How could you let me suffer?" is more than a question, it's a curse that hangs over Luna's head. She replays it in her mind, night after night, as she tries to justify herself, as she tries to reclaim any semblance of dignity or love. But the truth is, those words will not fade quickly. They are now a permanent scar on their bond. For Liam, they represent his deepest wound, and for Luna, they are the weight of her greatest regret. And for fans watching, those 7 words become unforgettable, lines that echo through the legacy of the show, cementing this storyline as one of the most emotionally charged and devastating in Bold and the Beautiful history. The air between Liam and Luna feels heavy, almost unbearable, as those 7 words leave his lips. How could you let me suffer? Words so small in number yet colossal in impact. They hang there, echoing in both their minds, refusing to be silenced. Liam doesn't immediately follow them with more explanation, because he doesn't need to. Every syllable is packed with months of grief, sleepless nights, tortured days, and a hollow ache in his chest that he carried while believing she was gone. Luna flinches at the weight of it, her eyes filling with tears, her throat tightening so much she can barely breathe. For her, this isn't just a confrontation, it's the shattering of every hope she clung to while she was hidden away. She thought her reappearance might bring healing, that maybe her survival could mend old wounds, but Liam's pain, raw and unfiltered, slams into her like a tidal wave. He takes a step back, his hand pressed to his forehead, pacing the way he always does when his world feels like it's collapsing. His voice, still trembling, grows louder as he repeats variations of that first devastating question. Do you know what it was like for me? For my kids? Do you know what it felt like to walk around this city believing you were dead? I buried you, Luna. I buried you in my heart. The crack in his voice is worse than a shout, worse than rage, because it carries grief that never should have been his to bear. He remembers nights when he clutched photos of her, whispered prayers she couldn't hear, tried to tell himself to move on, and now she stands here, alive, and all he can feel is that his suffering was unnecessary. Luna tries to explain, her lips trembling as she whispers, I didn't have a choice, Liam. You don't know what they made me, but he cuts her off sharply. No. Don't you dare say you didn't have a choice. You had my heart. You had me. And you let me live in hell. His words slice through the room, leaving Luna speechless. Every defense she wants to offer, whether it was Lee forcing her into hiding, Sheila manipulating her, or a secret so dangerous it threatened lives, falls flat in the face of his raw devastation. Because, in Liam's eyes, nothing could justify allowing him to drown in grief when she could have saved him with the truth. And this is where the ripple effect begins. Their confrontation is not private for long. Bill Spencer hears his son's anguish and explodes with fury, not just at Luna, but at anyone who may have been involved in keeping her hidden. Ridge Forrester wastes no time weaponizing the situation, declaring that Luna has proven herself unstable and dangerous. Steffi Forrester, already bitter and suspicious, sees this revelation as vindication that Luna should never be near her family. Even Brooke Logan, with her motherly instinct to protect Liam, cannot look at Luna without disgust. And Finn, torn between his medical oath, his complicated relationship with his motherly, and his wife's growing hatred of Luna, finds himself paralyzed. But at the heart of it all is Liam. His 7 words become the fulcrum on which everything else turns. For him, it isn't just about being lied to, it's about lost time, lost trust, and the crushing realization that the love he thought he carried for someone who had died has now curdled into something darker. And for Luna, it is the realization that survival is not the same as redemption. Her return to the world doesn't grant her forgiveness, it demands accountability. Those 7 words are a mirror she can't escape, reflecting not who she wanted to be, but what she allowed to happen. And for the audience, this is the kind of storytelling that defines the bold and the beautiful, a reunion laced not with joy, but with heartbreak so deep it threatens to consume everyone in its orbit. From this point on, every scene, every confrontation, every whisper in the Forrester mansion or the Spencer offices will circle back to those words. How could you let me suffer isn't just a question, it's a sentence, a judgment, a scar that will live on long after the tears stop falling. And for Liam and Luna, it marks the beginning of a war between love and betrayal, forgiveness and punishment, survival and destruction. The hours that follow feel like days to Luna as she scrambles to cover her tracks, her mind racing with the kind of manic energy that comes only from desperation and terror, and though her hands shake uncontrollably as she drags Katie's body into the private stairwell that only executives use, she forces herself to think like a survivor, telling herself over and over that she has done the impossible before. She has lied about life itself and convinced an entire family of her false pregnancy. She has stared Bill Spencer in the eyes and played the part of the innocent victim needing his protection, and if she could keep up that charade for months then surely she can handle one more secret, but as she hefts Katie's limp form down the steps, her shoulder aching and her breath ragged, she feels the horrifying weight not just of the body but of the truth, that this is no longer just manipulation, this is irreversible. And for every second she delays, the walls close in tighter, because Katie was a Logan, and Logans don't simply vanish without the entire city going into uproar, and Luna knows that when Brooke, Donna, and Hope realize Katie is missing, when Bill begins calling her phone endlessly, the suspicion will be unbearable, so she has to act quickly, dragging the body into the underground parking garage where shadows cloak every corner, and there, in a fit of grim resolve, She stuffs Katie into the trunk of her own car, whispering apologies she doesn't mean, because in Luna's twisted logic this was Katie's fault, Katie who couldn't leave well enough alone, Katie who had to go digging where she didn't belong, Katie who forced Luna into this, and after slamming the trunk shut she leans against the car, sweat dripping down her temples, her heart beats so loud she's certain someone will hear it, yet the garage is empty, silent, and that eerie stillness makes her feel like the universe itself is holding its breath, watching, waiting to see if she will truly get away with murder, and she tells herself she must, she has no choice, she will not let Katie's moral crusade destroy her empire, because for Luna this was never just about the lie of pregnancy, it was about security, belonging, about never again being the poor, overlooked outsider scorned by the Forresters and ridiculed by the Logans, and Bill Spencer had given her that, he had made her feel like she finally mattered, and she would burn the entire city to ashes before letting it be taken away, so she drives Katie's car out of the garage with her knuckles white on the steering wheel, her eyes darting to every mirror, every passing pedestrian, convinced they all know, convinced that at any second sirens will wail behind her, but none come, the streets remain unnervingly calm, and she forces herself to keep going until she reaches a remote overlook outside Los Angeles where the city's glittering skyline looks almost like a mocking stage set, and there, under the cloak of night, she pulls the body from the trunk, staggering under its dead weight, and drags it toward the cliffs, whispering frantic prayers that the waves will take Katie, that the rocks will obliterate the evidence, that the ocean will become her accomplice, and with one last shove she sends the body over, her eyes filling with tears as she watches it vanish into the black water below, her heart thundering, her mind screaming that it's done, that Katie is gone, that she's safe, but even as she drives away, shaking, replaying the sickening sound of skull against glass paperweight, she knows safety is an illusion, because Katie's absence will not go unnoticed, and sure enough the next morning the storm begins when Bill calls Brooke in confusion, saying Katie missed dinner with Will, that she isn't answering her phone, that she hasn't been seen since leaving the office, and Brooke, instantly alarmed, calls Donna, calls Ridge, calls anyone who might know, and within hours the Logan sisters are pacing Bill's living room, their voices frantic as they piece together timelines, and suspicion quickly sharpens to fury as they realize Luna was the last person seen with her, because an assistant swears they heard raised voices in Luna's office the day before, and when Bill confronts Luna she puts on the performance of her life, her eyes glassy with faint grief, her voice trembling as she insists she has no idea where Katie went, that she left the office long before Katie did, that perhaps Katie needed space, perhaps she ran off overwhelmed, but Bill knows Katie better than that, he knows she would never vanish without telling Will, without telling him, and as Luna clings to him, crying crocodile tears, he feels a seed of doubt he cannot quite shake, while across town Brooke is vowing she will uncover the truth if it kills her, and Luna, though outwardly composed, begins to unravel inside, because every phone call she overhears, every search party organized, every police inquiry feels like a hand tightening around her throat, and she starts seeing Katie's face everywhere, in the reflection of mirrors, in the shadows of hallways, in the silence of her bedroom at night, and the guilt gnaws at her until it transforms into paranoia, making her lash out at anyone who even slightly questions her, until Deacon notices her erratic behavior at Il Giardino and pulls her aside, asking what's wrong, why she looks like she hasn't slept in days, and for a split second she nearly tells him everything, nearly crumbles into his arms confessing that she killed Katie, but she swallows it down, masking her panic with some excuse.